If there's one thing the Eds are good at, it's breaking the law. These three con artists have spent their entire childhood running scams, tricking the neighborhood kids.
What? We flunked out!
All F! We failed everything! Woe is me! Ed had Ed's a fake!
And causing absolute chaos, all in pursuit of jawbreakers.
Cost a nickel.
Jawbreakers!
But if the law ever caught up with them, they wouldn't just be grounded. They'd be looking at a lifetime behind bars. Before we get into the serious crimes, let's start small, because even the Ed's harmless scams
Ripped off! We failed everything! Woe is me! Ed had Ed's a fake!
are far from legal. First up, fraud. Almost every episode revolves around them running some kind of scam,
What's been used?
You've been fooled! I have ripped off the innocent yet again!
selling fake products,
I would like to purchase one of your butts. Hard-earned money.
You got it, sucker! I mean customer!
running illegal businesses,
Whoa!
or tricking the other kids into handing over their money. In real life, fraud is a serious offense, especially if someone profits from deception. Even small-scale fraud can result in 1 to 5 years in prison per count. Since the Eds have attempted dozens, if not hundreds, of scams, their fraud charges alone could easily stack up to 50+ years in prison. Then there's theft. The Eds don't just scam people, they also steal money,
Whoa!
candy,
Ed, Japan flavor? Come to Papa!
and other valuables.
Analyze Rome's face, and you have...
Eddy is usually the mastermind behind the heists,
Eddie? Hey! I know just what to do!
but Ed and Ed are guilty by association.
Quit fooling around!
In most cases, theft under $500 is a misdemeanor that carries up to 1 year in jail per incident. However, when they steal larger amounts, or if they repeatedly target the same victims, it turns into felony theft, which can mean up to 10 years in prison. And of course, we can't ignore their destruction of property. Every time one of their scams goes wrong, they leave a trail of destruction in their wake.
Think of the money we're gonna rake in!
Guys, we have to clean this up.
They've damaged houses, walls,
Wait! My brain is working! Yup. Nice one, Ed.
trees,
You, Ed.
It's really something I wanted to do, Double.
I can't see! My guys! They're...
and even entire carnival setups.
Anyway.
In real-world terms, this is criminal mischief and vandalism. Both of which carry up to 5 years in prison per offense. But the real kicker? Operating businesses without a license.
To rent a clown! Our new out-of-the-box clowns are guaranteed.
Eddy has run everything from unlicensed amusement parks
You got it! Welcome to Requiem for a Whiplash!
Sure looks hairy.
By making a place of entertainment their own amusement park, Edland.
to shady gambling rings, all of which would be highly illegal. In most places, running an unlicensed business can lead to heavy fines and up to a year in prison per violation. If we counted every scam as a separate business, Eddy would be looking at decades behind bars just for his entrepreneurial skills. At this point, the Eds are already looking at over 100 years in prison, and we haven't even gotten to the dangerous stuff yet, because when their scams go too far, they start racking up even more serious charges. Next, we'll break down the moments when their reckless behavior crossed the line into dangerous criminal activity. And once we start looking at the actual harm they've caused, their prison sentence is only going to get a whole lot worse. Ed, and Eddy's scams have already stacked up over a century in prison time, but things are about to get worse. Their cons don't just result in stolen money or broken fences, they often put people in danger, cause serious property damage,
Anyway.
and lead to reckless criminal behavior. If their scams were being reviewed in a courtroom, the judge wouldn't just be looking at fraud and theft, they'd be facing serious felony charges. One of the most reckless offenses they commit is endangering public safety. The Eds don't just break things, they create situations that could have seriously injured or even killed the neighborhood kids.
My side!
My legs!
My igloo!
In one of their many disastrous ideas, they turned the entire cul-de-sac into a soap-covered skating rink,
Slide on the soap!
expecting to charge the other kids for skating lessons.
Huskies, 25 cents and ride through the northern light bulbs!
Of course, it immediately got out of hand, sending everyone crashing into walls,
Side!
My legs!
My igloo!
Awesome.
flipping through the air,
Awesome.
You did that on purpose, didn't you?
and wiping out on hard pavement. In real life, reckless endangerment refers to any action that creates a significant risk of serious injury to others, even if no one actually gets hurt. Depending on the state, this charge carries up to 5 years in prison per count. And considering how many kids were involved, the Eds could be facing decades in prison just for that one scheme. But reckless endangerment isn't the only serious charge on their record. The Eds have broken into private property
Hurry, guys!
Go, baby, go!
more times than anyone can count. Whether it's sneaking into Rolf's shed,
Having fun with my shed, Ed boys?
invading Jimmy's backyard,
Hey, you're trespassing. This is my backyard, and if you don't leave...
or breaking into Sarah and
In Sarah's room.
I'm a forg.
Ed, do you realize you damaged, nay,
Kelvin's homes,
quite a day.
they have absolutely no concept of personal boundaries. In real-world terms, this is breaking and entering, a crime that carries up to 10 years in prison per incident. If we estimate they've done this at least a dozen times, that's well over 100 years in prison just for trespassing alone. And then there's kidnapping,
Hey, Johnny.
which,
Nice
yes,
haircut.
the Eds are absolutely guilty of.
He's got
In legal terms, kidnapping doesn't just mean snatching someone and demanding a ransom. It includes physically restraining someone against their will or moving them to another location without consent. The Eds have done this on multiple occasions, often for the sake of their scams. One of the worst examples is when they tied Johnny to a giant wheel and spun him for entertainment, completely ignoring his screams for help.
Now let me go. I gotta go to the bathroom.
In another instance, they locked Johnny in a makeshift jail cell
Enough fooling around. So why don't you just tell us where everybody's stuff is,
I don't
as part of one of their scams, refusing to let him leave. These aren't just harmless pranks, these are serious felonies. Kidnapping charges range from 5 years to life in prison depending on the circumstances. While the Eds might not have done it with malicious intent, the repeated offenses would still stack up quickly, earning them several life sentences. And if that weren't enough, they've also committed grand theft. The Eds may not have the skills to pull off a proper heist, but they've managed to steal some pretty valuable things in their time. Cars, large equipment, and even refrigerator. Have all been temporarily borrowed for their schemes. The law doesn't see this as innocent borrowing.
You wouldn't happen to have any paper I can borrow? Oh, can I borrow this sink?
It sees it as grand theft auto and felony level property crime. Stealing a vehicle, even if it's only for a short time, carries a sentence of up to 15 years per charge. With multiple instances of vehicle theft under their belt, they'd be adding another few decades to their sentence. At this point, the Eds have moved beyond childish scamming and into full-blown criminal activity. Their total prison time is already well into the hundreds of years, but we're still not done, because their biggest and most reckless schemes are yet to be analyzed. In the final part, we'll take a look at the truly outrageous crimes they've committed, ones that could earn them a sentence so long they wouldn't be getting out for thousands of years. Ed, and Eddy have already racked up hundreds of years in prison time, with charges ranging from fraud and theft to reckless endangerment, kidnapping, and grand theft auto. But we haven't even gotten to their biggest and most outrageous crimes yet, the ones that turn them from petty criminals into full-blown felons facing an astronomical prison sentence. One of their worst offenses is mass destruction of property. While we've already covered vandalism, there are times when the Eds go beyond just breaking fences or knocking over mailboxes. Their scams have completely destroyed entire structures, houses, playgrounds, and even amusement park attractions. In one instance, they created a makeshift carnival that collapsed in a matter of minutes, leaving wreckage scattered across the cul-de-sac. In another, they turned a simple scam into a full-blown demolition job,
The right thing, Eddie, and work for the rest of our lives to buy Johnny a new home.
leaving buildings in ruins. In legal terms, this isn't just property damage, it's criminal destruction of property, which carries up to 10 years in prison per major offense. If we count the times they've completely wrecked structures, their sentence would easily jump by another 50 to 100 years. But the Eds aren't just guilty of destroying things, they've put people in direct danger through extreme negligence. In one of their most insane schemes, they built an unsafe roller coaster in the middle of the cul-de-sac. Charging kids for a ride.
The last ride was a quarter. Come on, Plank.
With no safety measures, no inspections, and no regard for the laws of physics,
But it should land in that tree.
it wasn't just reckless,
Not good.
it was criminal. In real life, this would be considered criminal negligence, a charge that results in up to 10 years in prison if it puts lives at risk. With multiple stunts like this throughout their scamming career, this charge alone could add another 50 years to their sentence. And then we get to attempted murder. Yes, you heard that right. The Eds might not be serial killers, but their actions have nearly gotten people killed more than once. The worst examples is when they sent Kevin flying off, and Jimmy flying off their makeshift ride.
Good news. If my calculations are correct,
Another time, they accidentally rigged an entire treehouse to collapse, while the other kids were inside. Attempted murder is one of the most serious felonies, carrying 20 years to life in prison per count. While the Eds didn't set out to intentionally kill anyone, the sheer recklessness of their actions means they could still be charged with attempted manslaughter or criminal negligence leading to death, charges that could easily push their prison sentence into the thousands of years. At this point, we need to total it all up. Fraud and theft charges, 100 plus years. Breaking and entering grand theft and kidnapping, 200 plus years. Mass property destruction and criminal negligence, 150 plus years. Attempted manslaughter and reckless endangerment, potential life sentences stacking beyond 1,000 years. The final verdict, Ed, and Eddy would be looking at over 1,500 years behind bars with zero chance of parole. They might have started out as 3 kids chasing jawbreakers, but in the eyes of the law, they'd be 3 of the most dangerous criminals in Peach Creek history.